Hey guys, and welcome back to another DrAce video, and today we're going to be playing MotoGP 21, and we're here in the Circuit of the Americas on board the American Racing Calyx. Now, of course, Sergio made the helmet and number for me quite recently, and I just wanted a chance to test it out with a couple of bikes to see how it would look. I tried it with the Petronas Yamaha, and that looked really awesome. The Monster Energy Yamaha looked great, and I thought, let's try some Moto2s. I thought, since COTA had just been and gone, and it was a pretty solid race as a matter of fact, and I'm not a massive fan of this circuit, and it's probably one of those tracks that I tend to have a bit of problems with, a bit of struggles every now and again. So I thought, why not do a time trial? Let's see if we can improve our lap times, and let's see what lap time we can produce to put ourselves in the leaderboards. Now, of course, as usual, I'll do a couple of laps here. I think I'm going to do round 5. I think that's going to be my maximum. And then after that, I will let you know what the result's going to be, and then you can tackle this challenge in your own time and compete against my time. So into the left-hander now, the very, very difficult turn 11. Of course, many riders crashing out there, even myself in this one. I think I crashed on 1 or 2 laps and I was trying to push that a little bit too much, getting into some of the corners, but of course, that's been edited out and we'll just be focusing on the completed laps here today. Now, as far as other tracks goes, they don't really usually give me much issues, apart from the dreaded Kimi Ring, and this circuit, I do have a few problems and a few struggles here in the Circuit of the Americas. So now bringing on the power and bringing on the acceleration for the right-hander of turn 13. I didn't do a very good job here going into the right-hander, just a little bit too far to the left, touching the green part of the circuit and invalidating the very first lap of the video. So not great to start off with, but we're getting a feel for it. Anti-wheelie turned off down to 1, traction control of course is not even a thing in Moto 2, and the engine brake on 4, with power setting 3 well and truly enabled. So we're on the rise up to MotoGP 22, just got to wait a couple more days now, ladies and gentlemen, not too far away, and we'll definitely be doing more time trial challenges. So if you're enjoying this style of content, make sure to hit the subscribe button and stick around for a lot more time trial challenges, but on that time on MotoGP 22. So breaking into turn 1 on the second lap of 5, slamming the anchors on for the very difficult and innocuous left-hander. So we now position our motorcycle in a decent way, trying to stop the bike from wheeling, but unfortunately we did let it slide a little bit too much there, so we just clipped the apex of the rumble strip and almost went down. That was very, very close, a little bit scary if I do say so myself, as we now launch to the left-hand side, and then of course to the right-hand side, this change of direction from the left to the right to the left. The exhilarating part of the Circuit of the Americas here in the US, of course, a very, very solid track, but in a few parts certainly catch me off guard. Do like this part, very much so, chucking it to the left-hand side and just gently holding onto the throttle and holding on to dear life as you drop down here into this little bit of a kind of a waterfall section. Not as much as like the Saxon Ring, but it's still downhill and very, very scary. You've seen a couple of riders there really bucking and weaving and bobbling on that particular part. It's quite scary stuff. Jorge Martin had a very scary moment in the practice session, as well as Dennis on tubing, ridiculous on the overtakes going into that left-hander. So now the big long straight, the part that I still can't decide where I like to brake. Sometimes I go really, really late and make it a very tight apex, or I go for a little bit wider and go for this longer sweeping line. I can never find the correct way to do it and never really feel the confidence with it, but this time going into the 13th corner, we do not exceed track limits. We stay on board the motorcycle as well, so we get a little bit too early on the brakes going into the 15th corner. We do manage to keep the front end of the motorcycle down and planted, so we didn't wheelie too much coming out of the corner, and now onto the right hand side, the very difficult and scary part when you drop into that very small ditch in the middle of the circuit, but I do feel confident on this particular lap time. We'll get a good indication of what's to come, and then what lap times we can be working towards for the next couple in just a moment's time. But onto the left-hand side for the final corner. No Loris Baz save here required. We're going to be bringing on the acceleration across the line. A 2:10.583. Not bad, but I do want to get into the 209s. I feel like the 209s could put me around the top 10 in the leaderboards, so that's what we're going to be aiming for here today. So onto the left-hand side, keeping the front end down much better than the previous lap and keeping it to the right without touching the apex. You've seen the Ghost really fall off behind us there. That's due to touching the apex that we've seen just a moment ago. So the left hand side to the right hand side, keeping it nice and smooth, keeping the acceleration gentle and applied in a very controlled fashion. You can see in the bottom right corner of your screen how much acceleration is being applied, and also on the flip side how much brake is being applied. So onto the right hand side, touching the apex and just barely losing the front. You've seen that little tiny bit of the rumble strip, and that caused us to crash. So I did lie, I did include a crash in the video. Okay, that being said, I'm happy with that. We had some good feeling in that first split. The first sector seems to be pretty solid. Just got to do that again without crashing going into the second split. So the turn 1, not as in control and is not as good as the previous lap time, but we will improve compared to the previous Ghost because we didn't touch the rumble strip and we didn't have that mistake onto the right hand side of the tyre. So now to the left hand side for 5, shift it across to turn 6, keeping the right elbow down to the floor, keeping the knee pad scraping across the circuit of the Americas, and then chuck it into the left hand side. Lost a bit of confidence going into the left hander there, but we now move to the right, keeping it nice and tight without touching the rumble strip. You see how close we were. It was like a really fine edge of the tyre, but we didn't manage to go onto the rumble strip and therefore still have our lap well and truly on for a good and decent performance now. Turn 11 approaching rapidly. We move into the 11th corner in a pretty good style, and we will be gaining time on the straight due to the nature of how much acceleration we were able to apply since the bike was straight. It's crucial to make sure you get a good amount of speed coming into the next corner, and of course slamming on the anchors, left Alpine Stars boots touching the ground as we chuck it into the left hander for turn 12. Just a small moment there for the man with the Alpine Stars leathers as we go to the right hand side for turn 13, keeping it nice and smooth. Critical acceleration there. Be gentle on the brakes here and we should have a very solid lap time. Left hand side, good. Can we avoid the wheelie? Looks like we were trying to everything we could to push it down into the tarmac, keeping the front end down, maintaining grip all the way through is what was crucial, and we're now up by 7.5 tenths of a second. This part is now the most important part. Get it onto the left hand side for turn 19, get it done correctly, and we're looking at a 2:09 lap time. Is this going to be the 2:09, the first one of the session here today as we go to the left hand side for turn 20, bring on the power, bring on the throttle, across the line, we now move up to a 2:09.756. I'm content with that so far. I believe that may be into the top 10, I'm not entirely sure yet, we'll find out towards the end of the video, but we now are on the penultimate lap, so we'll have 2 more chances to improve upon the 2:09.756. I do think the final sector is where we can find improvements, and also in the third split as well. First and second split I'm pretty confident with, just feel like we could get a little bit more time, but not as dramatic as the third and fourth sector. So turn 6 controlled pretty well so far as we now go to the left hand side for turn 7, and now onto the right hand side for turn 8, and for the left for turn 9, keeping it nice and smooth, looking like Cameron Beaubier now on board this Kalex. I probably won't get pole position in the sense of the leaderboards, but Cameron Beaubier certainly did it for Moto 2. Excuse me, there's a dog in the background barking, I don't know if you can hear that or not. But onto the left hand side we'll go for turn 11, keeping it nice and tight to the apex, rubbing the left knee slider to the floor, but coming out of the corner, that big wheelie has compromised our speed. So now since we're kinda up against the Ghost, and the Ghost is pulling away by a tenth and a little bit, I think we're going to have to go really late on the brakes here, just to see if we can salvage the lap time. If not, it's fine, but we'll slam it onto the left hand side, keeping it nice and tight to the apex, and slowly bring on the power. Didn't find any additional speed there. I think I actually ended up braking a little bit too early rather than what I really desired. Kind of lost a bit of confidence on the brakes there. Couldn't really get the motorcycle stopped. But we'll now go to the left hand side for 15. Now for 16 as well, keeping it nice and tight. 0.3 of a second is the gap. I guess we will try a lunge into the penultimate corner to see. Oh, that's completely messed us up. I should probably try a wider line onto the right hand side there, but that's not my corner style for that particular one. I do struggle on it, but I'll tell you what, slamming the brakes on very late there for the penultimate corner. Look how close we gained upon the Ghost. Slamming down onto the gears wasn't the right option for me, unfortunately, so I did lose a little bit of time. But here we go then, bringing on the power, using the slipstream from the Ghost, which of course doesn't actually make a difference. We'll now bring on the power for the final lap of today's video. Now I didn't change the tyres throughout any of this one. You're entirely up to you, it's entirely your decision if you want to use a soft, a hard, or whatever you want, or even use the same as me. This was just literally 5 laps on the medium tyres just to see what we could produce here in the Circuit of the Americas on the Moto2 machine. So the right hand side now for turn 4, we lost a little bit of time to the Ghost, but at the same time still very neck and neck, side by side pretty much, or pretty much into each other, because of course the Ghost is transparent. We're still very close to improving on the lap time. Now I don't necessarily have to improve it by a lot, I would just rather end the video with an improvement. But to the left hand side we will go, keeping it nice and tight to the apex, bringing on the power. We will now continue to push as we slam the anchors on very late for turn 11. That is way too late. However, we didn't lose too much time. That's a very interesting strategy. Braking really firm and really loosely into the left-hander for turn 11 is kind of worked out well, but at the same time we now need to do it again to outbrake the transparent friend on the right-hand side there, and I've gone way too early on the brakes. But let's see if this is key. Nice and gentle on the brakes, strong on the throttle, didn't really quite work out. This is going to be neck and neck. Turn 19 is definitely a spot where we can save some time, so we should potentially still improve the lap time, but it's all about piecing it together in one of my bogey circuits. This is going to be very difficult for me. This is going to be one hell of a challenge, but we'll still see what we can produce. Onto the right hand side, we must go wide now. We cannot go for that really tight apex. We did jump a little bit, kind of looking like the mountain section of Cadwell Park there, but I do feel that we should be able to improve here. Slamming it onto turn 19 now for the left hand side, dropping it down to too many gears once more. It's going to be neck and neck as we get towards the final corner into turn 20. I don't think it's going to happen. It's just not going to happen unless we get, oh, too eager on the acceleration, and unfortunately that will not be an improvement. So those are my 5 lap times on screen right now with my own personal rider. Once again, thank you Sergio for making the numbers. And of course, lap 3 was our best lap time, followed by lap 4, until things kind of fell apart towards the final lap. So let's take a look at the leaderboards position, and as you can see, in the top 10, quite a big gap to first position and even 8th position. We have a lot of work to do if I want to improve, but for now I'm quite content with that, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you want to take part of this challenge, let me know, and of course join the Discord server to share your results in there as well. But guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao for now. Oh hi, didn't quite see you there. Good to see you're still here. If this video didn't quite set your appetite, then why not watch some more DrAce content by clicking the video shown on screen now. Furthermore, if you would like to follow me on social media, you can do so now with the links down in the description. Consider subscribing so you don't miss a single DrAce video.